A lot of science is about understanding why things work a certain way. And to help us with understanding, we need to actually be able to classify a lot of things. So classification is actually a very important topic in science. So it actually helps us to group certain items together so that we can study them in greater detail. It can help us identify certain things that we don't know and differentiate it with other items or other substances. And it helps us to trace the origins of a certain uh, living thing or a certain object and see if there's any relationship between that object and another object. So classification is actually quite important. So right now we are going to talk about two types of classification. One is the classification of plants, and later on we're going to go through the classification of animals. So for plants, there are actually two types of. It can be broken down to two types of plants. One is the non-vascular plant, and the other, as you may guess, is the vascular plant. So for non-vascular plants, what are the characteristics? So there are actually no true roots, no actual roots to vascular plants, not to non-vascular plants. They are usually small plants with simple leaves and simple stems. And there is no vessels or tubes to actually carry water, so which gives the name non-vascular. So they don't have any vessels to transport water. So versus that, vascular plants, these plants actually have vessels in the form of the stems or in forms of the leaves to actually carry water. So they can actually grow taller than the non-vascular plants because they are able to transport the water to the other parts or the higher parts of the plant. And they can also survive on dry land because all they need is water on the roots, and the roots can actually transport the water to the leaves on the top. So because of this vessel system, they are able to grow higher and they can grow on dry land. So even vascular plants can be broken down into two other classifications. One being the gymnosperms, and the other being the angiosperms. So what are the differences? So the gymnosperms are actually plants that are non-flowering, and the angiosperms are the flowering ones. So you will see that they actually produce flowers, and they tend to have seeds within their fruits. So what about animals? So animals can be broken down in the same way as well. So it can be broken down into the vertebrates and the non-vertebrates or the invertebrates. So what is the difference is that the vertebrates is actually the animals with a backbone, and the invertebrates are the one without. Okay, and the ones with, you can actually break them down into further groups like fishes or mammals, fishes, and the invertebrates. You can even break them down into other groups. One is the arthropods, which are the invertebrates with jointed legs, and you can see them in the form of insects. You can see them in the form of crustaceans like your crabs and your prawns. Crustaceans, and you can also break them down, the invertebrates, into invertebrates without jointed legs. So you can imagine these guys as like the worms that you see, or even like octopus, they don't have a backbone, neither do they have any jointed legs. And they're actually tools to help us classify living things and identify them. And one such tool is the dichotomous dichotomous key that we're going to go through right now. So let me just rub this away. The way to use this tool is really just to ask a question to separate them based on the answer of the question. So for example, we want to use the key to differentiate between a dog, an octopus, a gorilla, and a human. And so we start with, say, animals, so cause all of them are animals. So we ask the question, do they have 4 legs? So if it's a yes, out of the group, there's only the dog, so we can say it's a dog. So if it's a no, we have the choice of either octopus, gorilla, or human. So we have to ask more questions. So we can ask, does it have hands? Have hands? And if the answer is no, we know that it's octopus because out of the group, only octopus does not have a hand, does not have hands. And if it's a yes, it's between the gorilla and the humans. So we have to ask a question like, do you have hair on the body? Hair on the body. And if it's a yes, the gorilla. And if it's no, it's a human. So this helps us break down the classify the living things that we have here, and it also helps us to answer to other people when people ask you the characteristics of a certain animal. For example, right now we can say a gorilla has hair on the body because it's a yes to have hair on the body, and a gorilla has hands because it's a yes to the question has hands, and no, and gorilla do not have 4 legs. So based on this flow, you can actually give an explanation on the characteristics of a animal. So this is how you use the dichotomous key.